Python is a really powerful programming language. There is a lot of versatility to what you can do with it, but being able to automate it takes it to the next level. I'm going to show you how you can automate it using Kestra. There are 3 ways you can do it. Firstly, you can use a schedule to run it on a routine. You can have your code trigger when a webhook is fired and be able to use data from the webhook body, as well as using a file trigger when new data is available in a data lake and being able to process that with your Python script. Let's have a look at those examples to show you how you can automate and orchestrate your Python code beyond just running it manually. To start things off, I have a workflow here that's on a schedule to execute at 8 AM every day. We can head over to the triggers tab to see this, and this is also where we can execute backfills to go back in time for any missed executions. If we have a look here, I have my Python code here, and this is one of the powerful things of Kestra, is that I can actually get an expression directly from my schedule to be able to feed in real-time data to the Python code. Now, using a script task means I can write this directly inside of my workflow, but if I was using a commands task, I could pass this property in as an environment variable. I'd recommend checking out this video where we show you how you can pass values into your code, regardless of if you're using a dedicated file or writing it inside of your YAML code. Now, in this example, I'm just simply putting trigger.date. Now, if I was to execute this won't work because I'm not using my trigger. Instead, I'm manually executing this. So we're going to go to triggers and we're going to press backfill, and I'm going to backfill it from today. So it's going to go back in time as it's 10:42 where I am, but it is 8 AM when this schedule should have ran. So if I press execute now, what we'll see in the executions page is that we'll go here, we'll see that under logs, this was successful, and we were able to get a timestamp of 8 AM, which is when this should have run. Now, obviously we could just use the date time library inside of Python, but this will get the time of execution, whereas this gives us the ability to then go back in time and be able to execute at those points of time, not just because we're running it now. Let me show you an example where this might make sense. I've modified our example here. It's going to get the same date from the trigger, but this time I'm using a filter here to be able to just give me it in the ISO format of years, months, day. So now I can pass that into a variable in my Python code and use that later. And we can see that all the Python code is doing here is generating a daily report. This is just a pseudocode example to give you an idea of what it could be doing on a larger scale. And so I've got the report content here that says daily report, and it includes the date inside of that. And so you might want to say, I want to get the report from, last Monday. And so you can specify the date in the backfill, and then you can have your Python code maybe make a query for that date and then be able to pull the data back from it. So here we can see that it's then also going to name my file after the date. So if you're generating lots of these, this will make it easy for me to be able to find this file and not just have it be named generic daily report along with the other hundreds of daily reports I might have. So if I now go to backfills and I again run this for, let's say, not today, but we'll run it for last Monday. And so if I go back to that, I can then change the time to be after 8 AM. So here I've now got a backfill for the 3rd of February. If I press execute and we go down to this, we'll see that if I give this a refresh, we'll see that it is running now, and we'll be able to see that it is in fact successful. And if we go to outputs, we can actually find that the file that we had is available, and I can view it and see that the daily report, just an example, said there was $5,000 in sales and 200 users. But you could have your Python code querying a database or doing some other computation that allows you to generate this report with data from that specific date. So this is a really cool way to automate your Python code and give it the sort of the infrastructure it needs to be able to not only just run it on a cron job every day, but being able to go back in time and peek into the past. In our next example, we're going to look at how we can use webhooks to trigger our Python code. Maybe you've got something that's running on the web and you want it to be able to run a script, but you don't want to have to go through the headache of then being able to write your Python code to run on a Flask server or something like that. Perhaps you don't want to run on a schedule, but you'd rather your Python code was more an event-based sort of condition. Now, we can use a webhook here to enable this. Let's say you've got an example where you've got some Python code that's going to process some data. You need it to run when a webhook is triggered. Now, you don't want to have to go through the faff of running your own Flask or Fast API server to be able to just run your Python code. Now you've got to maintain an additional web server on top of having to write the code that is that was intended to do the purpose in the first place. Now, Kestra can sort of be that web server for you and give you some of the alerting and notifications to let you know what's going on. If you're curious to learn about error handling in Kestra, check out this video here. Now, in this example, I've changed the trigger type here to Webhook, and I've given it a simple key. And this means now if I run this Webhook anywhere, this will start this workflow and execute it. But I can go even further than that. I can also pass data in the body of the webhook and then access that directly inside of my Python code. So this means I can pass in a big JSON body and then process that inside of my Python code. Now, as you can see here, I've got the expression here, trigger.body, and I'm using these two question marks, which are null coalescing operators, which basically says, if there isn't a body, then do the thing on the right, which in this case is an empty string, just to make sure this won't fail in case the webhook is triggered incorrectly. Now, if I execute this manually, where there is no trigger.body because there's no webhook, this will still run, but it will fail because the properties that it's looking for here don't exist, but it stops the expression from failing. And so you can build some sort of error handling into your code here to make sure that it's not going to break just because the webhook body was slightly different or didn't contain all the information. Maybe you're not always expecting all the information. Now, I'm looking for a webhook body here that contains a first name and a last name. So let's now generate our webhook and trigger this. Now, you might be wondering, what is the webhook URL? How do I know what it is? If you go to triggers and then mouse over the webhook icon here, you will get a copy URL button that will give it to you straight away. So now, as you can see here, I can just simply paste this in like so. I'll be able to trigger my workflow now. So we can see that when I run this, it does in fact start the workflow, but we'll see that it's again going to fail because we didn't pass it a body because it's expecting to print that statement later on. So let's now run this inside of the terminal using curl to be able to see what this can do. So here I've got my webhook ready using curl to make a post request, and I'm passing it the body here with the first name and last name to match my name. And if I press this now, we'll see that if I refresh the executions page like so, we'll see that an execution was successfully started. And if I click onto that, we can see that it was triggered by the webhook. We can see that it passed a bunch of headers as well as the body, and inside that body we've got first name and last name as well. So if I now have a look at the logs, we'll see that it was able to successfully print out the body content into the logs. So this is a really good way of being able to add web server infrastructure to your Python script without having to build it all yourself from scratch and add error handling. Because the beauty of Kestra is you can add quick error handling to Slack, for example, to be able to notify you if it fails. Whereas before you'd have to then implement all of that into Python, and now you've got to maintain that as well. It just adds on to the sort of burden of what was once upon a time maybe a simple script has now become a complex web server. In our next example, we're going to look at how we can have our code automatically executed when a file is available inside of a data lake. Now, in this example, I'm using the S3 trigger, which means as soon as a file is uploaded to S3, I will then run my Python code and process it. Now, I've left this pretty straightforward for now without many filters and conditions, but you can set this up to say only when certain file types and certain file names or in certain directories are detected, then it should run your code. But for this example, I've kept this fairly straightforward, and I've told it that once it's processed that file to delete it. But you could also move it into an archive folder as well to make sure you've still got access to that data if you need it later. Now for this first example, once I upload the file to the bucket, we're going to see that it's going to just automatically print it out to the logs, and then we'll look at how we can have Python automate that for us. Inside of S3 here, I'm just going to upload this orders.csv file that I have, and when I upload this, we'll see that in Kestra, automatically, when I press refresh, we'll see that it automatically processes this, and we can see that it's made a log message, and we can go to logs here and see that it's just printed out the CSV file to the logs. So we know that this works. So this creates an event-driven pipeline now where you can just focus on having your code process the data, allow the bucket there to receive it, and Kestra will make sure that those two can connect together and orchestrate the process. Now this next example is a little bit more in depth. Now what we're going to do here with our Python code is we're going to take the data from S3 and we're going to bundle it into an input file, which we can then pass to the Python code just like any other file on our local machine. And then inside of the Python code here, we're simply just going to add a new column with a discounted total at 10% discount. And then we're going to write that to a new file called data.csv. So now when I go to S3 and upload our file again, what I can see here is that when I go to executions, we're going to see that now we're going to see a 5th execution is generated. We can see that it's processing that in Python. And if we go to outputs, we can actually see here that it's generated that outputs file, and we can see that discounted total column has been added to the end. So this is really useful if you've got some sort of ETL pipeline where you want data to automatically arrive in your data lake, and then you want to have Python perform transformations before loading it into a data warehouse. You can have Kestra automate the process of extracting it from your data lake and then putting it into a transformation. We're going to have a video soon on how you can process this one step further and have Kestra then automatically add it to your data warehouse such as BigQuery using a dedicated BigQuery plugin. So if you're interested in that, let us know in the comments below. So there are multiple ways that you can automate and orchestrate your Python code, where Kestra really helps to build the building blocks around your code to enable it to be even more powerful than on its own. Let us know in the comments below how you plan to automate your Python code. Are you simply just looking for a nightly job to run every day? Or are you looking for something a little bit more event driven like the webhook and the S3 example? Let us know in the comments below. We can't wait to hear from you.